is the stream?
It's going to be on the Chrome at the bottom. Chrome to your left. Yes.
All right.
We just need to make sure that we can hear ourselves.
I had my stream pulled up.
My phone's charging. I can't even use my phone because it's charging. We're just going to see if the audio is working.
Is it? Is it working?
Let's find out.
Is it working? It's working.
Yes, it's working. Hello.
Hi. We got it working for you guys.
Welcome
Hell
to
yeah.
Matter of Fact. Would you like to grab one side of the board so we can show the screen the board real quick?
All right. Today, what we have for you on Matter of Fact, we got how we live our lives. That's our main topic for today. And then, of course, as always...
Oh, can you lift it up just a wee bit?
Just a bit. All right. And, of course, as always, we've got our segment, Question Quest, and we're going to ask questions about our main topic here. And I'll read them here. What are your priorities in life? Did you have academic talents as a child? How did they change into adulthood? And then, what's something you've recently changed your mind about? So these are some pretty good questions. I'm sure we'll delve a little deeper than even just these, but that's a great start.
I think, how did they transition into adulthood would have been better wording. But
ooh, yeah. Evolve.
Evolve would be great too. Here. Let's do the crowd a bit of justice.
This is a whole new segment now, and we're gonna call it
what are you talking about?
Synchronizing synonyms. We used a word, and then we thought of an even better word that is a synonym.
Yeah, because
evolve and change are synonyms.
Change didn't. Change is biased because the contrast between my learning as a child and my learning now is otherworldly. But we'll get to that.
Sorry, guys, I needed me water.
So let's. I think what's really important here is to discuss why how we live our lives is the third episode. Why is that? This isn't very matter of fact. This isn't very science, math, philosophy. This is more subjective.
Yeah.
Like, why?
It's more personal.
Yeah. Why so early on in the show? Why is this taking bronze right now?
So it's almost a paradox. We've been talking a lot about paradoxes lately. So I think how to live your life is a huge question that people ask from even an early age, like what they should do with day to day. Like what would be? It's like when you're younger and you're thinking about your future, you're thinking about what goals you might have, what kind of job you might have, or career you might take on. Maybe you want to be a musician, or maybe you're really into science. Maybe you want to be an engineer or something. So you're just thinking a lot about how you're going to live your life. And what that leads you to do is it leads you to learn about the things you're interested in. It's a motivating factor. And so because you're motivated to learn about what you are interested in, and then because you learn about what you're interested in, it then leads you to be inspired to live your life a certain way. So it's cause, effect.
This is pretty much what you just said, or at least for the most part. But it's like, the reason it's an important topic for me is because when I am learning about a philosopher or a scientist or just someone who has great backing in what they're saying and everybody's taking what they're saying seriously, one of my biggest priorities with this person is, what is their character like, and what are their routines like? What are they doing on a daily basis? Because what they're doing on a daily basis indicates the priorities that they have based on the knowledge that they're both explaining and accepting.
Can we define priority?
If I had my phone, I would do it.
I will do it.
Yeah, please. Vocab Lab.
Vocab Lab coming up. This is a huge word, especially for this topic, but just in general. I searched vocab instead of priority. The fact or condition of being regarded or treated as more important.
The what?
The fact or condition of being regarded or treated as more important. The example sentence is, the safety of the country takes priority over any other matter.
Care if I read it?
Sure.
And then what were you going to say about that?
I would, if it were me writing the definition, I would replace the word important with urgent. The word priority has a root word, prior, meaning, and this is if I'm defining the word, it's to occur before. An event occurring prior to another means it is occurring before it. So a priority is an action you are selecting to take to happen prior to other actions. So you're putting it in a timeline, and you make up your timeline based on importance. So you make up your timeline based on importance to some degree, but you are assigning a level of urgency to your actions when you prioritize. You are saying this thing needs to happen before this thing because it's more urgent.
I gotta unclog this fucking thing.
Yeah, dude.
When I'm listening, I'm sorry. It's just.
I'm just gonna suck on it real hard.
You know what?
I'm not-
Speaking of clips,
I'm not repeating that.
we are gonna clip that, so you don't have to.
Dude, I'm just gonna. I know this is live, but I'm just deleting it.
And there's a viewer as well, so somebody's gonna remember that.
Might be me.
Somebody hopefully important. Somebody hopefully recording that can post this on their 1 million subscriber YouTube channel, so that way we can pop off. That'd be very nice of you. We know it's you. I'm gonna try to unclog this thing because it's pissing me off. If you want, you can read off the first question and go into that, unless you had anything else to say before that.
So yeah, I wanted to make that point about priority. It has the word prior in it. I want people to understand the word priority. It means the actions you're picking to go first. Like, if you think eating breakfast is the most important meal of the day, then that's a priority. Why? Because before you do anything for the rest of the day, you're gonna eat breakfast. So the next question on the board, and it's kind of sideways, so I know you can't see it, but I'll read it to you. What are your priorities in life? And we're asking ourselves this question. So if I'm asking myself, what are my priorities in life? If I'm being a smart ass and very literal, it's to stay alive. That is my very, very first priority in life, is to stay alive, because none of my other priorities in life make any logical sense without first ensuring that I am alive to do them. So what does that mean for me in a less smart-ass literal sense? It means that I try to take care of my health, and I try to make sure I'm well fed and nutritiously fed, and fed a variety of foods that don't lead toward my health declining, like becoming sick or becoming lower energy, lethargic, and fatigued. I try to eat stuff that's going to lead to me having more energy, and I've been doing it for a long time. I didn't when I was a kid because I didn't have as much resources or knowledge, but it's like even if I knew what was healthy, I probably would not have been able to eat it. And I also was pickier when I was a kid. So everything is culminated, fortunately for me, to the point where I'm capable of not only knowing what foods are good for me, also being someone who enjoys those foods. I'm not picky anymore. And then also the fact that I have the resources to get the foods that I know are healthy for me. And all of that has happened because when I was even as a young person, I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be full of life. And so through the process of my life, I have done a lot of things like learning about what foods are healthy and putting myself in a position to be able to eat them and learning how to cook them. And like I know how to cook now because I've put a lot of priority behind food and what food I'm eating and how much that plays into my health because I want to stay alive. That's my number one priority.
So health and survival.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What is your
my number one?
Your number one.
I mean, if you want me to go down the biological route, same. But if you
Fair.
if you're looking at me, if you're like
philosophically,
if you're asking me philosophically, this is more of a newer goal, I suppose. I mean, it's always been a goal of mine, so that's not true. But my priority right now is to
eats donut.
Yeah. I was unclogging the fucking while you were talking.
Well, I was just talking about eating healthy.
Oh, LOL, pulls out donut.
I'm going to be an Instagram fitness influencer right now. Guys, you can eat donuts. It doesn't mean that you're going to be unhealthy. You just mostly have to not eat donuts because you're eating other things.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend just chowing down on donuts every day.
But if you look at me, I'm not saying I'm...
Dude, give him a flex. Give him a flex.
I'm not saying I'm the pinnacle of health.
Yeah, this dude's good. He's
but
good.
I take care of myself, and I eat a lot of other things like avocado and spinach and olive oil and blah, 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 all kinds of shit. I make sure I eat well, so that means it's okay to have a donut once in a while.
Right. My number one priority right now is learning. I am obsessed with learning about a lot of things. I want to know more about life. I want to know more. And I don't want it to just be one-sided either. I want to hear what the atheists have to say. I want to hear what the priests have to say.
Are you trying to fill in more to answer this question, like how you live how am I gonna live my life?
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to plug in my routine. I'm trying to plug in my character. I'm trying to plug in why 24-year-old David is the way he is, and what makes him different from 20-year-old David. What makes him different from 17-year-old David. Like, what about right now? How are we living our lives right now? What's led us to this moment? Why are our priorities what they are? It's like, so yours is health. Health would be definitely one of my top priorities. Honestly, learning falls into health for me.
Yeah.
The more I know about health, the more I'm able to be on that track.
Yeah, that's what it was like. I was like, okay, how as a kid, if I want to be healthy and I'm not eating healthy, I didn't even really know that. I don't know.
Right, sleep.
Yeah. So the only way to fulfill almost any priority that you have is to learn.
Yes, I want to learn. And honestly, learning falls into something bigger. Learning is literally just a tick on a bigger box for me, which is progress. I'm obsessed with progression. I want to go further, be quicker, be stronger, look better, be more efficient. All these things are very important to me. That's a huge priority. Honestly, all the priorities that I list off are underneath this. Like, this is the bedrock to my priorities, is my obsession with progression.
That is dope. That bars right there.
Yeah, facts. So I would say to give a number one under the bedrock of progression, I would say learning. Learning is my number one priority right now. So what do you want to do? You want to spitball one at a time?
Yeah.
All right, that was mine.
I would say the next biggest priority I have over essentially just surviving and maintaining a healthy lifestyle is to find meaning.
That's a good point.
And that took a lot of learning because I had to find this. I had to learn at least what other human beings were saying about meaning and where we find it and like what is the source of it and is it even real or is it just an illusion that we're making up for ourselves? And there's a lot of observations we've done about people who do and don't believe in things. And the conclusion that I've come to, and this is a lot of it through conversations with David, and he may agree with someone I'm saying and some not, I don't know, but the conclusion I've come to is that meaning is real, even if it's an illusion, because meaning is part of what drives us, and the reason we are beings who believe in meaning, or the reason we are meaningful beings, is because it led to our success through evolution. That's the strongest belief that I can ascribe to. even though I'm a very questioning person, and I can even admit that I don't know for certain that that's true. But it's very convincing to me, and I think the strong belief I have in it is helpful to me.
It's motivating.
Yeah, even if it's an illusion. So, and what that tells me is that meaning is a product of survival, and that the more meaningfully I can take my life, or the more meaning I find in my life, the better, even if it's just for my personal survival or the survival of my offspring, to put it in a very biological way. People who find meaning in life are more likely to live. That's why human beings even do it, because our ancestors did it.
Yeah, and it's like everybody's doing it. It's like even the atheist is trying to uncover something.
Yeah.
They're trying to
They're
find
seeking
something.
this, yes, the deeper meaning.
And even if the meaning is that there is no meaning, they have found a meaning.
Yeah. So it's almost as though we're creating the meaning for ourselves. And that's really what I believe is
Very Nietzsche of you.
Yeah, I'm just making meaning out of my life because when I do certain things, I feel personally the meaning. And even if that's just an illusion and an emotion, it's important to me. So I prioritize that.
That would be your second?
I would think that was the second most important thing to me.
Everything that Seth has said so far, I agree with. It would fall under my priorities as well. Health and survival, definitely. Meaning, definitely. So my priorities can kind of stem from that, go off of that. Because what I was going to say, my second priority is character and ethics. So my decisions and why I'm doing them is very important to me. Philosophy is a priority in my life. That's pretty much philosophy, honestly, because philosophy, we've already said this, but philosophy dictates decisions. Decisions dictate behavior. Behavior dictates character. So philosophy would be where the root starts with that. Philosophy would be my second biggest priority in life right now. I'm trying to uncover things that I really stand on. And actually, I wrote about this yesterday. I wrote about some of my bias. That's right, bitch. You thought I wasn't paying attention, but I was. I named it Volatile Visions. I try to do the two same letters, first letters or first two letters.
Is there a word for that?
What? To mix
two
the
words
two?
in a sequence that have...
There is a word for that, but I don't remember what it is.
Me either.
I put... Now, this is off the back of some other writing, but I'm going to put what I put here. My ultimate ambition is to form my own path, one that isn't brewed in denial and bias. I'm aiming at dismantling some of the grip that truth has on society. And then I question myself. I say, is this not bias? Is choice possible without shreds of bias? What is my bias? So then I'm like confronting myself. I'm trying to convince myself that there are objective truths that humanity wants to stand by. And I choose my words very carefully there. And I know what risky territory I'm on with saying things like that. But some of my bias, some things that I really want to stand by and believe, and the reason that I'm doing this is because of philosophy. I'm trying to refine my philosophy and my decisions to reiterate my behavior to get a more desired outcome. And my desired outcome and my bias is in these statements. 1, you want your life to be meaningful. I believe every human being would rather their life feel meaningful than meaningless.
Fair.
I think that's an objective truth, or the
Fair.
closest thing I can find to it.
If there are human beings who do not experience that,
lower health,
they are less likely to survive and procreate.
Yeah, less fulfilled.
They are less likely to become an ancestor of anyone else.
Yeah, you will die quicker and you won't attract anybody.
So do they exist? Maybe. But if they do, it's not really part of what is progressing the territory of humanity.
The hyper-channeled aspect of humanity.
Which is...
progression and...
Because this is what we became.
Adaptation.
This is what we were directed at.
Mm-hmm.
The primitive ancestral organisms that procreated leading up to us, that's what they did, was found more and more and more and more meaning in the world. So it is innately human to think meaningfully and to feel meaningfully. And if there are people out there that don't, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it is not so human. And they are a human, and that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
We all do things that are animalistic or
Definitely.
they resemble other species or whatever, but it's like
The human beings through evolution are on a track.
it's like to say how many legs do humans have?
Yeah.
2.
So if someone's born with one,
It's
they are by definition.
it's slightly less on the same path as humans genetically.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make a statement or an insult, and it's okay. I'm just stating it factually.
It just makes me think about, was it Da Vinci that drew out the human?
The perfect form of
or
humans.
just like
yeah.
what the average person,
Do you think
what
he was?
they think of.
Who said the world of forms?
It was Plato.
Do you think Da Vinci was inspired by Plato with that?
I bet he was.
They also, I might have been Da Vinci, but somebody did
I almost
the
guarantee
perfect face.
Oh, I didn't know he did
There's
that.
like lines, and people will do it these days.
What,
like,
symmetrical? Very mathematically?
it's very symmetrical, and also like the angles of every line of the face as it's like forming
Yeah,
are
just roll
very
the forms.
mathematical. Yeah.
But to point these out as well. So you want your life to be meaningful is my first. These are the closest things I've gotten to objective truths where they make a lot of sense to me, and I can't imagine an argument that could stand tall against it. You want to lead a physically and mentally healthy life is number 2. Number 3, you want short, mid, and long-term goals. Number 4, you want to be a functioning member of society. And what I mean by that is you want to be in relation to other human beings, and you would rather it be a positive one if you could have it your way. And number 5, you never want to solidify any resentment towards yourself, life, or others. And these are me iterating my philosophy, or like attempting to find solid ground for myself. These make a lot of sense to me. I couldn't tell you why humans are so obsessed with objective truths. I couldn't explain to you why that is so vital to us, but I am a part of it. I strive for something that is as close to objective as I can get, despite the irony of me saying I think truth has too hard of a grasp on humans, because I think it's possible to embrace the truth as the truth, but to direct your life, you don't have to abide by it. Bertrand Russell said 2 quotes. He said, "What is true and what is useful are not the same thing."
Fair.
I said, I agree. I said, I agree with that.
I've never heard that quote, and that is a great quote.
He said something else that I didn't agree with. I don't want to hear your thoughts on it. He said, truth, well, see, I don't know if I don't fully agree with it. I don't know exactly how he meant it. But he said, truth should be the principle that guides our belief, not practicality. And there's a lot about that I agree with, and there's a lot about it that I do not agree with. So it's like Bertrand Russell is a very well-renowned philosopher, scientist, mathematician. It's like I'm going toe-to-toe with a giant here.
So we could equate practicality to
Utility?
Usefulness, yes.
Yeah.
So he's saying truth and practicality are not the same thing.
Which I agree with.
And he stands on the side of truth, where he believes even if something would be easier if we believed it because it would be more useful, that we should believe the truth instead, even if it's harder.
And it's like, I don't know Bertrand Russell all the way. I've read into him somewhat. I don't know what beliefs he had. But if through the consequences of him choosing truth, he fell into a nihilistic, unfulfilled, alienated state with humanity, which is possible if you go down that route. I'm not saying it's inevitable, but I'm saying it's possible. If he chose that frame of mind for a pursuit of truth and putting a flag in the ground, essentially, of him marking his territory of something that he's found that's very important to him, other than potentially practicality can lead to more fulfilling, more motivating, more useful benefits to your mentality and to the actions that you take. And not to sound like a broken record, but atheists don't impress me with their physique. from what I've seen. I don't know who all is an atheist, but I'm using that as an example to say maybe accepting something more practical is what makes it easier to go to the gym. I don't know. I really have no idea. But that is something. My philosophy is helping me stay fit. It's helping me with different sides to my discipline. It's helping me with, okay, we're going to the gym every day. Dope, let's go every day. I mean, I hurt my shoulder the other day, so I didn't go for a day. But other than that, we've went every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there is no lack of motivation or discipline there.
Right.
I will show up regardless. Yeah. And I don't know if atheists can say the same.
You're trying to get them to call you out.
Dude, I want some jacked fucking atheist to pop up angry, and I would invite him on the show or do a stream with him. Like, I don't care. That'd be fine. I would love for you to tell me why you think I'm wrong. I would hear you out. I really would. But that's my second priority, philosophy. Especially for how I want to use it.
I'm really struggling. The quotes that you just read me, I'm struggling to like decide between convenience and truth.
I agree. It's a hard question.
Because it's almost like he's saying it's like, yeah, it's more useful and it's easier, but it's almost like he's saying it's evil.
He sees it as a lie. You're following a lie, and that is wrong.
You're using an advantage that is based on a falsehood.
Mm-hmm.
And that advantage, although it is making things easier for you, it's like a sucker punch. You're sucker punching the world. You're sucker punching everything around you by being like...
You're bending it.
Yeah. You're like, you have the advantage based on lying, based on not revealing the actual truth. If you sucker punch somebody in the head from behind, you're lying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't reveal the truth to them that you were trying to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
And you have an advantage now. It's useful, but is it ethical?
I don't know.
Is sucker punching someone from behind ethical?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what are ethics in the realm of atheism?
True, fair.
It's like, I don't know. It's just...
If we go...
Because he was an atheist, I believe. His truth was literally denouncing a lot of religious doctrines, I believe. That's not to take credit away from him. That's not the point I'm making.
Yeah.
But it is like, he's in a way... I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's like... We're sucker punching it and bending it to what we want it to be, which in turn will hopefully motivate us and keep us more fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what the use of a utilitarian, maybe I'm using the word wrong. I'm going to say a useful to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
A useful philosophy should make you fulfilled. I think philosophy makes sense in that way.
Yeah, I agree.
A philosophy should be used so that way you can feel fulfilled. Now, if you feeling fulfilled is murdering children, that's a separate conversation. I think that you should have a autonomous philosophy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
That is useful, and
it guides your behavior
right.
and how you influence mostly yourself.
Yes, and I'm not here to sound like I hate atheists or that I'm attacking atheists, but if you break it down to moral relativism,
it would come across in this moment if I was watching this.
Yes.
Like you're a hardcore Christian.
No, I'm not. I think hardcore Christians are ridiculous. I think if you're going to wave a God hates fag sign outside of a wedding, I think you're part of the problem as well.
So are you just a normal Christian?
No, I don't even believe. I think I'm very skeptical about the Christian God.
So are you Muslim?
I would probably be the closest to Christian of everything. I would probably be the closest, but I haven't stepped into it all the way yet. I'm still on the gates of it, kind of just like sinless life, huh?
So I hear a lot of criticisms.
What's going on over here?
Just to give some background, I hear a lot of criticisms for Christianity all the time from David. So I'm just giving him the backing that he's saying he doesn't want to sound like he is hating on atheists all the time, and he's not. He's literally hating on the extreme and unfounded beliefs that a lot of strong believers of things have.
And if you would have talked to me about this a year ago, I wouldn't have much to say about atheism.
Fair.
I didn't even look into it.
You've done a lot of research into theology, which theology encompasses atheism.
Right. You know, like every no matter what we start talking, well, this makes sense. How we live our lives makes a lot of sense with this, to be fair. But God and atheism will probably be brought up on every episode, if I had to guess. It's a large topic between us. But yeah, if you would have talked to me a year ago, I would be way more on the side of like, Christianity makes no sense. All their beliefs are based on fear. This is ridiculous. Why are you guys submitting all the time and getting on your knees about something that you don't even know? Like, this makes no sense to me. But then I start hearing it from different people. I'm like, okay, I want to start looking into it. Sure, I was raised on Christianity. Sure, I know a fair amount about it and what the mentality is like. Because I emphasize character. I'm like, okay, you are Christian and you praise Christianity and it means a lot to you, and you go to church every Sunday. Okay, what is your character? What is your routine? What things do you do or don't do? What is important to you? What is not important to you? Like, these are important questions to me. That's what I'm really looking at. What result will you get out of being brewed through Christianity or atheism? So I would say at the beginning of this year, I started looking heavier into huge supporters of Christianity and huge supporters of atheism. And I'm watching these guys debate, and I'm hearing them on their own channels when they're by themselves and they have a lot to say. I'm listening to both, and I'm seeing who I agree with and whose points make the most sense. And at first, that's all I could do was just pay attention to the points. But then I started looking past the points, and I was like, okay, Cliff Knechtle, him and his son are both doing it. So that implies a good, strong connection between him and his son. I like that. That's cool. I enjoy that. Mm-hmm. They both look healthy. They both look like healthy individuals. Mm-hmm. They don't cuss, and that's like, this is not as important. But it's at least something you're finding their character. You're finding what they think is right and what they think is wrong. I've never heard either of them cuss. I've never heard either of them call someone stupid. I've heard someone say, I've heard them say some things. I've heard Cliff say statements or a type of person could be embarrassing. Like, I've heard things like that, but I've never heard them call someone outright stupid. I've never heard them call someone outright just attacking insults to their face, or I don't know what they're saying behind closed doors. But atheists, on the other hand, the people defending atheism, they like to call the other person stupid. They like to just, there's no way they're wrong. It's like, we've been past Christianity how are we still talking about this? Like, they're more stubborn, like they're more angry. I sense more resentment in them.
They see their,
why,
and maybe rightfully so, but they see their
Professor Dave,
the evidence.
Matt Dillahungus. I don't think that's your name, but you know who I'm talking about if you know who that guy is.
They see their beliefs as being founded on more substantial evidence.
Right.
That is evidence that's been more thoroughly tested. And there may be a factual basis for that. But it doesn't change that other people have the evidence they have that makes them believe what they believe. So you can't just call them stupid. There is some level of evidence to support almost any major belief system that's going on in the world. So it's disingenuous and unuseful to try to change people's minds by telling them they're stupid when they have every reason to just believe you're also stupid.
And I listen to them in the debates, and it's like, it's important to them. It feels important in their being to disprove God. They will pipe up. They will put their head in. That's not to say religious people are more guilty of this. When science is brought up, religious people will poke their heads in more often than atheists. So that's not to say that they're not going to get their fair share. But what I mean is, it's like they're standing by it. It's important to them. It's meaningful for them to be like, okay, well, this is just a fallacy. There's facts over here. And essentially what I believe they're doing, whether they want to admit it or not, is they're trying to influence, and they're trying to convince people of a different way or their way. And then I look at their character and I'm like, why would I join your team? Like, maybe atheism is true. Maybe you're right. Maybe if I went over to science and I looked hard enough, maybe I would see, okay, God doesn't exist. Maybe. But if that makes me resentful, if that makes me call people names, if that makes me just have a hatred for humanity and life, and I'm not saying all atheists are guilty of this, but it's just something I've noticed. It's like, I can't take you as seriously. Why would I let you be a beacon of light for me to follow if you're going to represent something like that? It's like, and I'll be honest with myself, just because if I get to a point where I say, okay, I don't believe in God, does that mean I have to become resentful and bitter and hate humanity and hate life? It's not necessarily what that means, but I keep it in mind when someone's trying to prove a point.
You should. I don't know how much you've looked into Neil deGrasse Tyson.
An okay amount.
How healthy do you think he is?
He seems pretty healthy.
I don't know.
He's a little.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he goes to the gym.
Have you ever seen?
He's also like 60. I don't know.
Right. You ever seen like his little tantrums?
I have seen him.
Religious people have tantrums.
Get a little bit. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say they don't.
Yeah. I've seen him get a little bit flustered.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to tell people they're stupid.
Fair. I don't think he wants to do that either.
I think he's really, really trying to just promote what he believes is true.
Right.
And I think has and is willing to debate people who don't agree with him, and he's willing to point out ideas and support ideas and argue with their ideas and not bring it to the realm of insults and personal attacks.
And I would agree. He doesn't embody health. Like, he's not the healthiest. Right. Cliff looks healthier, and I think Cliff's a decade older.
Fair.
So, but
I could see Cliff riding bikes fucking every day or some shit.
Running.
He looks very, very, very healthy.
For his age, bro. Yeah. You know how old he is, right? He's 70.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
69.
How about and actually I don't know for sure his philosophical or like religious beliefs, but Bill Nye is like
Bill Nye looks pretty
70
healthy.
or 80 or something like that. He's
always
looked pretty healthy.
I would look into Bill Nye. I would see what his what he has
I
to
could
say.
see Bill Nye.
Does he call people stupid?
He's very nice, but he's also very sarcastic. He's a very sarcastic guy. He's a comedic scientist. Mm-hmm. His show for children was very funny and informative. His show that he made for millennial adults more recently, Bill Nye Saves the World or Saves the Planet, I think
haven't heard of it.
What it's called. He was much older in it, and he was more sarcastic and almost a touch
snarky?
Of irritability. Like maybe a little bit of frustration coming out that
like he's annoyed
that people aren't remembering or learning the very basic things that he was trying to teach when he was. But either way, no, I don't think he is like you were saying, like there are people who find it important to point out how stupid other people are. That's not what he finds important. He wants people to learn.
Right.
And I don't know if he's an atheist, but
I wouldn't be surprised if he
would at least have a lot of some good supporting evidence toward the atheist thought.
Right, and that's a good point because I would look into both of them.
And that's another thing, though, is that Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson are possibly the two most well-known scientists of our era.
Yeah. Very well known.
Yeah. Bill Nye is a mechanical engineer. He worked for NASA.
Oh, cool.
He helped build a deployment field for a satellite. So it's like he helped design the mechanisms that allowed a satellite out in space to, on its own, once they pressed a button down on Earth, open up this array. And he was part of the design team for that. Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist. He studies theoretical astrophysics. Theoretical meaning we have math to support it, we've got some evidence to support it, but there's no absolute way for us to go out into the universe and test a lot of the things that we theorize. So, like, black holes in themselves are theoretical physics. What they are doing is theoretical physics. There's not a lot that's in law.
It's not empirical.
Right. And there's some ways to test things, but it's like a lot of it is like we know pretty damn sure what stars are made of because of what light they give off. And we've tested different elements and what kind of light they give off when they burn. Copper burns green. If we're getting a lot of green from, and actually, I remember it was a spectroscope is the machine we were using, and it's like we would put a substance, and so I've done this myself. Put a substance in a test tube, put it inside this spectroscope. It shines a light through it that refracts through the chemical, and it literally, every single element on the periodic table has a light code. It'll be like, if it's spread out, it'll be like, there'll be a certain thickness of one color, and then it'll be maybe a little bit of this, and then it'll be like this. And this is just random, and this is just an example. I'm not saying it represents any specific element, but you would look through this tube, and the light shining into your eyes would show that. And every single time you set this experiment up, the elements are showing the exact same color code every single time, and each one has a unique code. So then when we refract the light we're looking at through stars, through a spectroscope, or a spectrogram, I think might be what it's called when it's that, and it's shining light at us, we can read the code of everything that's in that star. We know if there's iron or copper or hydrogen or what the fuck ever it is, because empirically we've tested exactly what makes what light. All light comes from photons that are emitted from electrons. Every electron, maybe not every electron, but a lot of electrons are attached to atoms. So we know what kind of atoms are there because of what light the electrons on those atoms are emitting.
And this is in relation to Neil deGrasse Tyson and
He's
the
an
difference between theoretical and
empirical evidence.
And what empirical evidence he's worked with based on what evidence we can gather here in relation to light.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how the only way for us to study the universe essentially is through light.
Yeah, fair. I mean, vision. Fair enough.
It's like if we see something out there, it's because light got to our eyes. We can't even see black holes because there's no light.
There's no contrast. There's nothing to relate it to.
Nothing is shining into our eyes to see.
It's just a void.
So we can't study it because we're not there to feel it. We're not there to hear it or smell it.
If you were close enough, you'd already be
right.
gone.
Right.
You're just sucked in.
So it's like we have to be very theoretical about a lot of stuff, but we try to stay within the realm of our theory is based on a proven.
Yeah, you don't want it to literally just be you want it to be as grounded as it can be.
Yeah. So that's a pretty solid ground for knowing what a star is made of, for example.
Right. It's like, I don't know what different things they're measuring. I'm sure they can tell what temperature.
Yeah, they can tell temperature through like infrared radiation.
How hot the light is.
Yeah.
Right. And then how much light it is.
Magnitude.
The volume?
The magnitude.
Okay, thank you. Because I was like, volume is more physical.
But
more,
magnitude dispels over time because all light is emitted in a ray. So it's like...
Are you talking about like the Newton where it's a rainbow? Is that what you're saying? Where it's more than one color? I guess I'm confused.
It's more like it's like the sun is emitting light in every direction, and the further that light gets away from the sun, the more spread out it is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So magnitude decays over distance.
Oh.
So the amount of light there is going to spread out so much that now this stuff is missing you.
So is it thickest at the sun, and then it's a...
It is the most magnitude at the source.
So it's like a funnel.
Yes, exactly. An array.
Okay.
That is what an array is.
Okay.
It's
like the opposite of a funnel. It's like the short to the open.
Yes, it's spreading out.
And then the other would be, the funnel would be the open to the... Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
So...
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask, do you want to stick with any more of these? So far for our priorities, Seth said, what did you say? Your two?
Survival and living.
Make sure your health. Yes.
And then meaning.
Okay.
So we definitely delved into meaning a lot here.
And I agree with both of those. I would say those are in my priorities. 4. But my two were The first one was, what was the first one I said? Oh, learning. And then the second one was character, which I then upgraded to philosophy. So learning and philosophy, which is crazy because they're like the same thing.
And everything we're talking about right now holds hands.
Yeah.
Health and philosophy and learning and
Meaning
all hold hands.
Yeah, they are inseparable to one another. So what, do you want to give 3 each then? Or do you want to go to the next question?
Yeah, I'll go one more.
All right, what would be your third priority right now?
Progress.
Oh, cool. Progress is what I was saying about learning too.
Yeah, fair. It's like, and it's everything feeds into progress. The reason I even care about progress is because I care about health and because I care about meaning. The more progress I make, the more meaningful my life will be. So it's again holding hands, but I want to progress. David calls it the mountain of life. I want to progress. I want to climb the mountain of life and fulfill a lot of the goals that I have. I recently talked about Tai Chi. I want to be a Tai Chi master. Tai Chi is dope.
Fair.
Tai Chi is stretching. Tai Chi is breathing. Tai Chi is massage. Tai Chi is muscle memory. Tai Chi is combat. It's very interesting. Tai Chi is a big part of a way of life. And it's like, it goes into like the mind to muscle connection. It's really trying to just connect your whole body and the whole flow of energy and release energy. And it sounds mystical when you say it, like release energy, but
it's like, what's the word for energy? I think it starts with an M. It's like 4 letters or something. It was like the original word for energy. I don't remember. Mana. Yeah, mana.
Yeah, it sounds like mana.
Yeah.
But to put it in a more scientific sense, it's like your body literally is made of calories. Our body's made of protein and fat. If something else ate us, that it would burn into calories, which are energy. And the reason we store so much muscle and fat is to use it as energy and to facilitate function. So it is scientific to say that Tai Chi releases energy. It helps facilitate the activation of energy in your body so that your body can use it more freely. And it helps your range of motion, which helps you use energy. It helps your speed. Like, you can practice how fast you do a movement. You've done this. I've seen you, like, you've talked about it. Like,
what do you mean?
Being able to, like, strike at something, not hit it, but do it really fast.
Yeah.
So the reason that all those things together are a challenge that you can build on is because you could accidentally hit it if you're going too fast. Your accuracy goes down, your precision goes down when your speed goes up.
The faster you go, yes.
But you can improve how much accuracy and precision you can maintain while hitting higher and higher speeds by practicing. That's the whole concept of Tai Chi. The more you practice doing a movement at the most inside of the highest range of motion possible, the higher your range of motion will get, the more speed and the more precision and accuracy, and thus the most energy possible will be released from that movement. I really like that.
So you would say progress?
Progress, and specifically as an example of something I want to progress on.
Right.
Tai Chi.
That links in perfectly to right now.
Yeah.
It's very relevant.
Yeah.
Which is honestly what I'm trying to stay on anyway. Is that all you had for your third?
Yeah.
I really want to say number 3 for me would be curiosity. And what's crazy is that curiosity feeds into learning and it feeds into philosophy. But I don't know how else to put it. This is going to be the biggest priority where me and Seth are different. It's like curiosity of capability. Curiosity of I would almost say the challenge of life. Just looking at life like it's a challenge, like it's something to tame, something to domesticate, if that makes any sense. It's important to me, especially you guys are going to find out about my childhood with the next question, so I won't go too much into it. But it's very much the contrast with my childhood that emphasizes this outlook on life, or this mentality where I'm trying to test myself, essentially. This podcast was the most way that this podcast made sense to me. It was challenging myself. It's pretty much a nut up or shut up in my mind. It's like, okay, so I'm this smart guy that's having all these conversations with Seth, and Seth takes me seriously. Seth would go out in public and call me a smart guy. It's like, so can I get on a mic and a camera and talk my shit? And not only in my bias and my subjective sense, but also just, can I hold my own in language? Can I hold my own in meaning what I'm saying and knowing?
Can you convince anyone?
Yeah. Do I know what's coming out of my mouth?
Yeah.
Is essentially, and I'm trying to pay a lot more attention to what's coming out of my mouth, because I realize that I can rewatch this and I can look up everything I've ever said, and I can say, oh, well, that was wrong, or no, I don't agree with that anymore, or it's like there's another thing that feeds into this. I love watching myself back and critiquing.
Fair.
And I don't mean so much like, damn, David, you look stupid. Not so much that.
Yeah.
But like, I could have used a better word. I could have said it better.
You're not wanting to personally attack yourself.
Which sometimes that leaks out.
You're attacking your own ideas.
Yes.
And trying to reform and modify.
And I'll drop this here on the pod right now. I used coined incorrectly, or at least in the way that I meant it.
Fair.
And not how I meant it. I said Seth coined saying that our parents see our life right now as a mistake. And what I meant by coined in that sense is that he's the first one that put that word on top of that. But he didn't coin the word mistake. Coin literally means invent.
Yes.
Create the phrase, create the word. So coin was wrong wording, and I had to look that in the face when I watched it.
Fair.
Look up the definition of coin and be like,
Fair.
that's not what I meant. That was wrong.
Yeah.
And what that does is it challenges me, and it helps me become better.
Yeah.
And it helps me climb the mountain.
Do you think it also helps you become more comfortable with being wrong?
Definitely.
I think especially when we're really young and we start to develop our ego and we start to learn things and we start to develop opinions. Dude, it's like when I was a kid, I thought I was always right, or at least I wanted to always be right. But I've been wrong so many times.
Fair.
And I think as I'm getting older, I'm like, oh, I was wrong, but I'll become perfect and I'll never have to be wrong. And that never happened because it never will.
Right.
And so it got frustrating, and I would be very upset if I was wrong. You don't like being wrong. No one likes being wrong. And it's like, to face that is difficult. It's it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's almost humorous to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can laugh at it. I can be like, I can't believe I said that. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not true. I don't agree with what I said.
Right.
And I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've learned, because I've been wrong so many times, I've learned to be okay and comfortable with being wrong. Because I think I've learned more what I care about is the fact that I care about what's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't hate myself for being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I love that I want to find what's right. And
right.
I'm more willing to worry about that and laugh at being wrong.
Right. And that's not to say that I always laugh at first every time I see it.
Right.
Right. At first I can be like, I said that?
It's like, human. It's like,
yeah. But I don't know. It's important to me because I want people to be able to trust me. I want people, like, if I say, like, remember whenever I was like, the Enlightenment period started at the Renaissance and ended right before the 19th century. It's like, in the late 1700s, I believe, is when it ended. Now I want to look it up. Would you be able to look it up?
Yeah.
The Enlightenment period. But anyway, in that same exact statement, I said, okay, I could be wrong. It might not start in the Renaissance period, but it definitely ends in the late 18th century.
The Enlightenment was an intellectual movement that took place in Europe and America during the 17th and 18th centuries, which would be the 1600s and the 1700s.
It ended in the late 18th, right? Like the 1780s or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I said, but I know that one for sure. And then I remember telling Noah and Seth A.M. here that I was wrong about the Renaissance thing. It did not start in the Renaissance. And they're like, oh, damn, bro, that's crazy. And I was like, but it did end. And he was like, oh, so it ended when you said, but I definitely know it ended here? And he was like, yes.
Do you know what the time period before the Renaissance was called?
No.
So I'm just going to go ahead and, since we're breaking open a little bit of history, the Renaissance is a period of history and a European cultural movement covering the 15th and 16th centuries.
What's it called?
The Renaissance.
Oh, I thought you said what happened before the Renaissance.
I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
It marked the transition from the Middle Ages to modernity. So the first day of the Renaissance is the first day of modernity.
Okay.
The Middle Ages took place before that. So we're going to look up. I'll just say this real quick. It was characterized by an effort to revive and surpass the ideas and achievements of classical antiquity. Middle Ages. In the history of Europe. So this is European history. This is not about Asia. This is not about Africa. This is not about South or North America during the time. This is about 1400 to 1800 AD is the time period we've described or are describing it so far. So in the history of Europe, the Middle Ages or medieval lasted from approximately 500 to 1500 AD. So the Renaissance took place directly after that. So now we're all the way back to 500 AD. So that's 1,000 years. The Middle Ages took place over the course of 1,000 years. These other two periods we talked about were each 200 years. So if that tells you anything.
Right.
And then the 1800s ended not even 200 years ago. So we're not even 200 years after that.
Right.
And if you put all three of those periods, postmodern right now, Enlightenment and Renaissance together, that's only about 600 years, which is still not as much as the Middle Ages. One single period, the Middle Ages lasted 1,000 years.
Dude, there was like a huge dip. Not to stray off too far, I'm going to say this and then I'll try to tie that back in. But there was like a lot during, what was it, the Middle Ages?
Yeah.
There was a lot of crickets in the philosophical realm, especially in logic and debunking Aristotle or finding a better system, apparently. It was very much just like, okay, this is where we're at. Like,
yeah.
Not the entire time. But when I said that the Enlightenment period ended in the late 18th century, I said, well, I know that one to be true for sure. And I remember Noah being like, were you at least right about the one that you said you know for sure? And I was like, yes. And he was like, duh, bro, because I totally trusted you. And
yes.
I want people to be able to trust me.
Yeah.
I want people to be able to jump on my ship because they know I'm not just blowing smoke.
And it's like, when he said that, his
it's
tone.
a joke.
Yes, his tone, but every joke has truth.
You're right. He doesn't want to. Because next time I say, but I know for sure it ended or started here, he's like, but do you? Do you really? You said that last time, and I believed you, and I bit the bullet for it. So it's like, yeah, being trusted and challenging myself with doing something like this, and then for people to be able to take more of what I'm, especially for me myself, to take myself more seriously in the things that I'm saying. I don't want to just spew out nonsense and just be like, fuck trans people, I hate trans people, and then not even know what I'm talking about, or fuck Christians and not even know what I'm talking about. I want to be able to take in everything I can and either hear an argument from someone or form my own argument or own convincing ideas about it. I want to enter the realm of debate, and this is going to help a lot with that. Not like me and Seth are going to be here disagreeing all the time, because me and Seth are more on a lot of the same waves when it comes to how we want to live our lives. We do debate, though.
Yeah. Like, current state of debate on the world platform is very restricted.
What makes you say that?
There's a lot of rules.
Oh, of like a classical debate. Can you hold this real quick?
Yes, the way we hold debates in the world now is very enlightenment. It's very Socratic.
I'm guilty of that sometimes.
That's fair.
Right.
I think Socratic debate is a very ethical way to debate, and it's a very it's not ego driven,
in its nature. It's trying to be as honest as possible,
even if it means you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's accepting that the other person wins the debate,
Or it's accepting that we don't know.
Yeah.
So I would say Socratic methods helped a lot with being like both parties being able to be like, well, we don't really
didn't know. Yes.
But maybe.
But it's like today, one side gets a certain amount of time to like discuss a response. They give their response. The other side is quiet. They write down the response. They get time to read over, discuss the response among each other, come up with their response, and then they give their response while the other side is quiet and writes down. And
those are healthy rules.
Who wins? It's based on, I think, a vote or something. There's judges scoring or something. I'm not totally sure. I can't remember. But it's like you don't even win by convincing your opponent. You win by convincing everyone else.
Is this like the jury?
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Which is like debate.
True.
A judge in a courtroom is same exact
This is another reason
concept.
why I want to be able to enter the realm of debate is because just protection. Like
fair.
Like I want to read the law. I want to know what the law is.
Mm-hmm.
I want to read legislation. It's like what is legal, what is not, why?
What could get me put in prison and I didn't even know it could?
How much is pleading the fifth helpful? That's an important one to me. Because I'll spill the fucking beans because some cop is asking me for information. And I'm like, it's like I'm not going to narc on anybody. That's not what I mean. But I'll narc on myself because it's like whenever I got into the wreck and they were like, were you on your phone at all? I was like, I was Ubering. They're like, oh, he was on his phone. He was on his phone. I was like, what? People on Uber have to use their phones. It's like, what do you mean?
Like, nope, it's got to be on a stand.
Yeah, I was following a GPS. Like, what is that? And they're like, oh, man, it's like as soon as I told them that I was Ubering, they're like, oh, my God, you're shit out of luck, buddy.
Of course.
Good thing the officer was there to help me. He was like, don't sign anything until we find out if we have this footage or not. And I was like, I appreciate you. And then, But to get to the second question, because it's been an hour. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you have academic talents as a child? How did they evolve into adulthood? And that's all you.
I was not so confident in a lot of things when I was a child. The one thing I was more confident in than anything was my intelligence. I think a lot of it was because people were telling me I was smart.
We got ASMR, matter of fact.
True.
Matter of fact, ASMR.
Donut.
Go nuts for donuts.
Going nuts for donuts.
Dude, what do you think about doing this so early as well?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. But anyway, what were you saying?
Because I was encouraged about my intelligence, I think it was a big motivating factor. It was like I wasn't confident because I was a lot smaller than my older brothers. Now I'm taller than them. I don't weigh as much as them. But I didn't have confidence in my physical prowess. I was not going into sports.
Great word.
I didn't have a lot of stamina as a kid. I was like not very coordinated, and I didn't have a lot of confidence in that. But I did have a lot of confidence in I had a lot of confidence in my charisma, and I had a lot of confidence in my Intelligence.
You did have confidence in your charisma?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, as a kid?
To a certain point, I knew that I had a strong sense of working together with others and being able to communicate with them and being able to, I think I had a lot of unconscious, like innate empathy for others. So I was just very good at working with other people. Like in school, like on projects, things like that. Just I was very good at communicating with other people about like informative topics, about information and about shit like that. I don't know. I was not super socially anxious as a child.
You care if I use your phone? And I'm letting you talk. I literally just wanted to find a word real quick. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you were smart, but you didn't have a whole lot of confidence in your physical,
Mm-hmm.
but you did in your social and intelligence.
Mm-hmm. So I leaned into academics, and I also took a big interest in figuring out what the world was about. I remember asking a lot of questions about Christianity and God to my mom, and like things that didn't make sense to me. Like I was like, okay, so God loves us. Why are there tornadoes? Like I remember that specific question. And it's like I wasn't really satisfied with the answers I was getting. Because it was like, oh, it's the devil, or oh, it's to test us. Oh, it's like, okay, so bad things happen to us because God loves us. And that didn't make sense to me. And then I was also diving into learning and academics because people were telling me I was smart. So then I'm finding a lot of scientific evidence that actually tornadoes happen because of science.
Sorry.
You're good.
So science was more convincing to you as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Here you are. That's all I wanted to do. So I don't know if you had any more to say about childhood, but how did that evolve into your adulthood? How does that?
Look at the results of your prowess, and it's like feminine prowess, meaning.
LOL. I just defined prowess: skill or expertise in a particular activity or field. Great word. But yeah, how did it evolve into your adulthood? How is that version of Seth's in contrast or relation to this version of Seth?
So I was a Christian as a kid, and I was being told that Christianity was true. And then I'm also learning about science, evolution. I'm learning about the history of people who were Christian. Even creating science and starting to test the world around them. And it's not defeating their Christianity in their mind, but it does defeat Christianity in the minds of a lot of other people. Other people hear what they're saying and they're like, okay, you realize that if evolution's true, that means God's not real, right? And I'm not even personally saying that that's the case. I strongly believe that evolution could have been just the method, the magic of what God did to the world if God is real. But either way, as I'm growing into an adult, I'm seeing these two clashing ideas in adults. And I'm like, oh, I'm learning that adults are not so sure of what exactly is true. And I'm learning this in school. I'm learning that there's been a lot of argument about what's exactly true. And so when I'm asking my mom and I'm expecting her to have a perfect answer for why are there tornadoes if God loves us, it's like she doesn't have the answer because no one does. We haven't come up with the answer yet. That's what I learned growing up, is that through science, we have more than anything discovered that we don't have the answer. That's what science has proven, is that we don't know yet, at least. And that If we want to know, it'd be really hard to find out. And if we do find out, none of us know what the actual end might be. So that's the basis of a lot of what I believe when I say, for example, that I believe in finding my own meaning. That to me is strangely based on evolution and biology and science. I believe scientifically that finding meaning is good for the outcome I want. So if I think about what I want out of life, when I daydream about where I would rather be than at fucking Olive Garden.
Yeah.
And I think about how I would get there. I understand through evolution that finding meaning in life and pursuing the things that are meaningful to me is what will get me to the life I really want.
So, I guess you kind of answered it, but I'm going to ask anyway because maybe I'll get something different. So how did your intelligence change? Is it the exact same? Is your pursuit of knowledge the exact same? Is everything...
My intelligence has always been very strong. It's like I have more knowledge and more wisdom through my intelligence. I have a stronger access to and ability to process emotions because of my intelligence. But when I was a kid, I hadn't done any of that learning. I hadn't gained any of the experience, and I hadn't processed the emotions. So when I was younger, I was just I had less built up knowledge and wisdom and emotion. But now I have done a lot of my due diligence in all in these areas, and so it's like I'm just more skilled at using my intelligence. It was almost like a formless intelligence that was just able to learn easily. I could hear something and hold on to it and not let go of it and not forget it. I could feel something and remember it and understand it and recognize it when I felt it again. I could be in a situation, be challenged by some kind of a dilemma, and figure it out and hold on to that and remember it and use what I learned from figuring it out to get through dilemmas in the future. I think that describes that's
so
like
a lot
wisdom.
of refining.
I'm more refined,
more efficient.
My intelligence tool was pretty nice
Right.
when I got it.
Fair.
I got a pretty sharp axe.
Is it painful?
The axe?
Yeah,
Am I chopping myself with the axe to refine myself?
When
Yes,
you
I guess so.
Analyze yourself, you're just beating the shit out of your own mind.
Yes. I'm mining at my own
with your sharp ass intelligence.
Yes. So it's like I don't know, it's like I got through shit faster because I had this sharp intelligence. So maybe it was a little bit easier for me than it would have been for other people, but I still had to go through a lot of mining.
Right. I would explain. I've already called Seth's or referred to Seth's intelligence as this, but oceanic is a great word to describe not only how Seth learns, but also how he retains things. I'd say oceanic is the best. Vast space, very space. And I don't mean just the amount. That's not what I mean when I say that.
Right.
I'm also pinpointing
how it's
just like
structured.
How it's structured, and then it's like when your mind is stagnant, you're like drowning or some random spot in space. If that makes sense. And then I describe myself as a telescope or a funnel. That would be my learning or my mind. Because then that's like what I'm doing with the questions. Is it's almost like I'm like doing this, looking at the space that you're in. And I'm like, what about over here? And then you're like, oh, over here. And you're just already there.
I just had a thought, and it's connecting two things because you say my you say my intelligence or my knowledge or whatever is like an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I think I filled this ocean up as a kid very quickly.
Mm.
And it's kind of disorganized. You know what I'm saying? If you just dump everything you have
Yes.
into one container, it's an ocean.
Yes.
And it's very hard to get to one specific part of it or to find it. It's
Yeah, it's like you have hundreds of ideas to
Mhm.
sort through. Prioritizing them is probably 100 times more difficult for you than it is for me because of how I learn.
I think as an adult, and this is where I'm bringing in another analogy we've already talked about with it when it comes to my knowledge, is I'm taking little bottles and I'm
Yes.
picking up a little bit of ocean and I'm
Yes.
putting it on a shelf with a label.
Yes.
And so there's some aspect of my knowledge that I have taken from the ocean now,
Mhm.
and I've got a cabinet full of little bottles that I've organized my knowledge into a little bit. And that's what I'm doing now as an adult, is looking at my ocean and
Packing up
bottling it
little
up
pieces.
and being like, okay, this goes with these ideas. I've looked at all these before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm picking this one up and I'm like, oh yeah, that goes with this over here. I'm gonna put it with that so I can remember that these all go together in a way.
Right.
And that's what kind of what's happening with David, because you look at a little piece of my ocean. You're like zooming in at this little thing. And you're like, Seth, look at this.
Yeah, and you're like,
And I'm like, what?
yeah, you pick it.
You're right. So this is this thing. And you're like, what? I was just looking at it. You already know what it is. And I'm like, yeah, because it was in my pool.
Yeah, like your pool is all there. It's just there's infinite things to look at. There's
Yeah.
infinite things to zoom in on.
And what I'm trying to do when that happens now is I'm trying to put a lid on it and keep it and not
Right.
just dump it back in.
Oh, you think you used to just dump it back in?
It's at least having conversations with you is at least helping me not do that.
Fair.
I'm not saying I always did it, but there maybe were times where I'd have the thought again and be like, oh,
Fair.
it's not really making any connections. You helped me make a lot of connections to the cabinet that I've already got, and then I'm like, I know where to put that.
I think it's because we're coming from opposite ends of the spectrum.
Fair.
Like you're zoomed out and I'm zoomed in.
Yeah.
Like you're everything and I am one thing. I'm like looking direct. Like it's a laser beam or a funnel or a tunnel or it's doing this. It's
Yeah.
all meeting a corner. I'm like looking for the corner. But yeah. Did you have academic talents as a child? How did they evolve into adulthood?
Bro.
Not really.
Would you describe
I did not really.
yours as a rainfall?
As like little droplets?
And you are going up to a certain spot and catching every drop from that spot till the bottle's full.
That's interesting.
And then you put it in your cabinet.
It's very meticulous.
Yeah.
I would say I'm pretty meticulous with how I learn.
Yeah.
So that could be accurate as fuck.
Because you've got a cabinet full of bottles.
I got a cabinet as well.
But that you're getting yours a different way.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. The analogy for you makes the most sense. The best analogy for me, that's made the most sense to me, is a spotlight. Did you know that's why I started when I draw question marks? Let me get a good example. When I draw question marks, I do that. It's supposed to resemble a spotlight. Because I made the analogy of when I'm asking a question, it's almost like
you're shining a spotlight.
Yeah, it's like I have an oceanic thing too, but mine's like darkness. It's like it's not known knowledge. It's like I'm like, well, what's in the unknown? Everything. Okay, so I can ask anything. Okay, fucking.
Do you trail too far into judgment?
Right. This is an honest question with myself.
Yeah.
This is me trying to get an exact answer.
Is there any spite in your philosophy?
Right.
Those are great questions.
Yeah, these are questions I was asking myself the other day. But to touch, let me change my wording here. To bring up me as a kid.
To touch on myself as a
kid.
Why? How?
I was like not saying that.
I'm
glad you
I
took
went
it.
ahead and said
yeah,
it.
So now I'm reeling you twice.
Yeah.
With you saying this
Mhm,
shit.
thank you.
Yep. I didn't really have it. My best subject as a kid was math, and it only stayed with basic math. I was an expert at basic math, bro. We used to do these little Quizlets on the computer, and every time you beat, I think there was 12 levels total, and every time that you didn't beat a level, you had to just stay at that level until next time.
Mm.
Level 6 to 12, our math teacher would make ice cream for us. And each level that we got higher, he would let us add another topping to the ice cream. I was by far the first kid that got beat level 12. By far.
Fair.
By far. And I used to, kids used to ask me to do the test for them. And I got away with it a few times.
Nice.
But there was one time where I didn't. But I was caught. But yeah, math was pretty much the only, at least elementary to middle school, math was the only subject that I could pay enough attention to and know what was going on.
Yeah.
I had conscious awareness as to how multiplying worked, how adding worked, how subtracting worked, all the basic shit. Fractions. Everything else, there was an attention problem, bro. Bad attention problem.
Fair.
And then I was like, it was being communicated to me that I had ADHD, this thing that I have no choice of having, but can affect my awareness and my focus. And I didn't buy into it all the way. My mom helped a lot with putting a shield there. She was like, no, we're not going to feed him pills to help him. No, we're not doing that.
Which is, if I was to be a parent, that's the option I would choose, because just a pill I don't think is necessarily the only
and it's true.
Or the best solution.
At least for me. For me, it was true, because there was a lot of laziness in the reason I wasn't paying attention.
Fair.
There was a lot of resentment toward public schooling. That was why I wasn't paying attention as well.
Maybe that's really what ADHD is in general.
It could totally be. It's like if you have to sit still for 7 hours a day and just be crammed with this knowledge that some older person is dictating that you need to learn. You need to know this. This is important.
And, no teacher is perfect. Some teachers are better than others. But a teacher that is not stimulating you.
Yeah, facts.
And
Very
keeping
bored.
you engaged.
Very bored.
It's like children watch TV shows and listen to 3-minute songs, and every 15 minutes there's a commercial break, and our attention is broken up into tiny little chunks that get us through our day. And if you turn one of those chunks into 6 1-hour periods, and it's a guy
it can
talking
be disorienting.
in a very monotone voice, and
handing you pieces of paper,
and you
flip
have
to this page,
sit still,
yeah,
and stop talking,
yes,
and just listen to me talk, and you're around all your friends, and if you start to laugh and giggle together, you're in trouble.
Yep.
If you write notes to each other, you're in trouble, and it's setting people up for failure in a lot of ways.
And I grew up under that mentality of just not so much something's wrong with me, just I'm not that special, I'm not that smart, I'm not that physically active, I'm not that, just a whole bunch of stuff.
Fair.
And all these F's and D's I was receiving were just doubling down on that.
Yeah.
Doubling down on that. So everything was communicating to me that I need to quit, like you said, I need to quit talking, I need to sit still, I need to listen, I need to do better.
Because you still graduated, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the
bottom 10 of my class.
Yeah, the F's and D's went away, though, to some degree.
Senior year, I got honor roll. I got A's and B's.
Oh, that's crazy.
But only because I was doing the homework. I started doing homework. And it was because I was in ICE class. You know what ICE is? You get to leave early to go to work.
Yeah.
So I was able to have half days. And the only way that I could have half days is if my grades were good enough. So I made sure I stayed with half days because that was very important to me. Fuck being at school until 3 p.m.
So it wasn't you didn't have an inability to learn, because there's no way, even it's like if you couldn't learn, then it wouldn't matter how motivated you were.
Right.
You wouldn't have been able to read the stuff, remember it, and write it down on the test or on the homework.
And even senior year wasn't convincing enough to me because I only had half the classes. So I thought it was just somehow way easier. I had half the classes, so it was like, okay, there's less things in my way, but a regular 7-hour work day, I don't think I'm built for that. I don't think my mind can handle it. I think maybe I should just accept average academic talents and just be done with it. That was pretty much my mentality on it. So then I graduate and I go out into the world with this mentality, and I stay at Domino's with this mentality. So then my goal switches to discipline. I'm like, okay, I have a lot of discipline. Maybe I'm not so smart in an academic sense, but I can go to the gym consistently, whether I like it or not. I can go to work every day that I'm scheduled, whether I like it or not, within reason. I can be a general manager.
You don't have to be smart to keep doing something physical repeatedly.
And then also facing fears, like telling someone they're fired. It's like,
Yeah.
that wasn't an intelligence thing.
Yeah.
And to some degree it is, but it was, for me, that's not what the question was.
You
It
didn't
wasn't-
have a wall of intelligence up in your way.
You're
of
not
that.
smart enough to tell this person they're fired. Yes, I am. I can tell someone
I
they're
know those
fired.
words.
Yes.
I know what they mean.
You're right. And it's like, that was where a lot of confidence came in me when it came to expressing bravery. Bravery was like, oh, I don't necessarily have to be the smartest guy to be brave and to be disciplined. That's not necessary.
And actually,
there is intelligence involved.
I would say intelligence is maybe involved, but bravery and what was
discipline,
discipline and confidence.
Yeah, confidence.
Hardly dependent.
Yeah,
it's very slightly
it's more
dependent
P-type.
on. It's more.
It's like soul versus.
It's physical. It's very
mind.
physical. It's like I'm capable of saying.
Yes.
What I believe, and it's like bravery is the ability to persevere through fear and through danger.
Caution.
All my intelligence did was help me learn about how many dangers there were.
Right.
And then also to learn what I was and how fragile it is. And I do not think it made me more confident in being willing to fire people.
Right.
In fact, I think I only ever fired 2. And I wasn't GM
fired
for
a lot of people.
Yeah, I wasn't GM for very long, but
I fired a lot of people.
And I was also at a lot smaller of a store.
Right.
I didn't open this store. You opened a store, and there was a lot of people that got fired in the first month.
Oh, yes. So many people.
Because, at the start of the store, they're trying to find a really solid team that's actually going to be able to run this place so they can stop. So the higher up people can stop coming there.
Yes.
And it's like once that team is built and they can leave and not have to worry so much about this store because it's pretty much meeting their standards, then they get to go away. So that's what their goal was, and that means firing a lot of people and hiring a lot of new people.
And then through discipline, a lot of things about intelligence were making sense to me. So I was like, okay, I have the discipline to show up when I need to show up. I have the discipline and bravery to tell someone they're fired and that they need to get out. And what I was unconsciously doing was, because then it evolved. It was like, okay, I have the discipline to sit here and make a schedule. Okay, I have, of all the people that work for me, okay, I have the discipline to order a truck and to do the math on how many things I need to order and how much money that's going to cost me. So there was a lot of unconscious intelligence that was being pressed upon me because of my discipline and because of forcing myself to do things that I might not want to do.
Like store awareness and time management.
That's an intelligence.
Yeah, that's like you have the knowledge on exactly how to run a Domino's restaurant.
Right. And how to manage. And it taught me some leadership skills.
Yeah.
Like when the ship is sinking, they go to the last line of defense. I was the last line of defense.
Right.
If the GM is cool, we're cool. If the GM loses his shit, we are losing our shit.
Yes.
There's no one else to go to.
And if I was not someone who could keep my cool under pressure, I would not have ever become a GM, and they never would have made me one.
I never flipped out. Not a single time.
Never.
I'm proud of that.
The only time I ever flipped out and lost my cool, it was on Trey.
Oh.
And then there was also one on Damien.
I was going to say Ryan.
No, I meant in the middle of Rush.
Right,
or
I
like
hear that.
while the store's running.
I hear that.
I flipped out on Ryan.
Oh, can I have the lighter?
In a different way. But Trey was getting very aggravated at how many orders were coming in. And Trey was an assistant manager, so he's the second line of defense.
Right.
And so what happens when Trey starts losing his shit and everyone's like, oh, fuck, the store's falling apart, and they're starting to look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to get everybody together. I've got to get them all back into the mindset that these pizzas are going to get made. They're going to get sent out. We're going to finish the night. Yes. It'll all end, and it's going to be fine. And Trey is very loudly opposing me. And so I had to be like, Trey, it's a good thing we're getting orders. We want to make money. That's why we're all here. The job's kind of hard sometimes, but we can't freak out like this. And you can't be a manager if you are going to freak out like this. Everyone here is looking to you. And so I'm
grounding.
He's freaking out, and I'm trying to...
You're grounding the entire situation.
Yes.
Which is what a GM is supposed to do.
Yes.
So I respect that. And that's a type of intelligence in itself.
Yeah.
That's like a social intelligence.
Trey was pissed off a lot of the time. He was very resentful toward the people above us.
Corporation.
Yes, and it's like, I get that. They don't set things up to make people not freak out all the time.
Facts.
They put it all on their GM to figure that out.
Oh, facts. Yes. Their GM should have the emotional stability and social awareness to be able to
hold everyone up.
Right.
Yes.
Even if that includes sometimes they believed casting insults.
Yes.
And
I was being told to schedule less drivers when nights like that were happening because we didn't have enough drivers. They're wanting me to set us up to be even worse off and make people freak out even more and hate their job even more, but I'm supposed to be able to keep these people calm.
Right.
Keep them make the pizza and keep going.
Right.
Make the pizza, keep going. Just keep going. I just got to get them to...
Fucking stupid. But to answer the second question, how did that evolve into adulthood? Well, when I was 18 and I graduated, I was still under the assumption that I was just incapable of learning most things. The amount of due diligence or effort that I would have to expend to grasp any one thing was so heavy of a burden for me that I just thought, fuck it, I'm not worried about that anyway. I'll do something else. I'll be a Domino's general manager and run my own stores and buy stores, and that was just a route that I had thought about.
Mm.
But then when I turned 20, well, actually, no, when I turned 19, I started going to the gym, which emphasized even more about discipline and what it means to show up and what it means to learn more about something that you care about, such as proper form, diet, weight, how to gain and how to lose weight, like all these things. I'm just kind of learning just through experience, very empirical learning. I'm not so much looking stuff. I'll look up little stuff, but nothing crazy. Just like, okay, I would like to get jacked. That's a goal. I have to learn things to get jacked. Okay, so I can learn the things. Most of the learning is just sucking it up and doing, whether you want to do it or not, doing the thing.
Every time.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I don't need a whole lot of intelligence. That's pretty simple.
Yeah. I
can just show up and then lift it correctly, hopefully, and then make progress towards my goal. So then I turned 20. I had been working out for about a year. I get myself a girlfriend, and it was a very motivating time in my life. I had already kind of been dipping my toes in philosophy, been looking into quotes and different philosophers and what they were talking about. I didn't fully understand what they were saying, but the quotes were sticking out to me. The quotes were important to me. So when I turned 20, I started meditating every day. I've still almost meditated every day since I was 20. Writing almost every day since I turned 20. And I started music 6 months after that, so I think those are the only two. Well, looking into philosophy and psychology. Those kind of all were intertangled.
Studying
philosophy and psychology.
History and the people who were philosophizing.
Yeah, people who were a part of the subject, like the philosophical giants.
Yes,
as people call them.
What was their life like?
Right.
What did they believe?
Right.
What did they write? Who was around them? What was the world like?
And a lot of that was intimidating because I could hardly understand the words that they were using. So there was another blockage. It's like, okay, I can't understand most words. I'm reading basic quotes that people understand fairly well. These are popular quotes that people have said to me, and I couldn't give you a perfect example right now, but I don't fully know what they're saying. And I think that's what very unconsciously influenced me to start writing. I started writing, and I remember the first time I ever wrote, there was just kind of this connection where it was like, okay, is this good for me? It feels good for me. Okay, well, I've started. and it doesn't bother me. I could do this every day. Why don't I just do this every day? Let's just see what happens if I do this every day. And then I started meditating, and I had the exact same philosophy. I said, okay, I tried to start with 10 to 15 minutes of meditation. Hell on earth, bro. If you ever start meditating, I don't recommend starting that long. It fucking sucks.
What, like a minute and a half?
Dude, I did 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
But yeah, I did 15 minutes when I started. Oh my God, 15 minutes felt like 45 minutes. And I remember just opening my eyes and like wobbling around and just being like, oh my God, how am I going to be able to meditate every day, bro? This is impossible. And I was like, I could do 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
I could do 5 minutes every day. Why couldn't I do that? And then I was like, all right, I'm going to do that every day. And then I upped it to 6. And then I upped it to 7. And then 2 years ago, the beginning of 2023, I told myself 10 minutes every day. And the beginning of 2024, I told myself 15 minutes every day. So it's evolved over time.
So now what you could not do at first, you're doing.
Yes, and 15 minutes I did 30 minutes yesterday because I skipped the day before, so I had to double it. It's like totally different.
Yeah.
So there was an emphasis on my discipline and just wanting to start something. And I'm so glad that I chose writing, because what writing did, I use this analogy. I fucking love this quote. And with this analogy, it's perfect. Abraham Lincoln once said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did.
That's kind of what I was referencing earlier when I was saying my axe was already sharp.
Oh, fair. True. I was thinking of pickaxe, so I wasn't even thinking about that.
I mean,
I was thinking of Minecraft.
Yeah, and then it also relates to that. It's funny how it all connects, but it's like for you, discipline was a sharp axe.
Right.
You were given a sharp axe of discipline.
Yes, and so I was able to use that. And I decided meditation, because I believed that if I was doing meditation every day, I believed it would help me with my focus, and I believed it would help me with emotional stability. So I said, okay, if I start meditating every day, those things will probably get better. Okay, that's a good enough reason to do it every day. I'm going to do it every day.
So your discipline, would you say, we were talking yesterday about getting lucky. I'm kind of interrupting you now.
No, you're fine, bro. I mean, I've talked a lot about this.
Your discipline, do you think you were kind of lucky? Like I kind of got lucky with intelligence.
It's interesting because
I think you just chop through things that you want to be disciplined about with ease. It's like butter. And I'm not saying I'm not disciplined about anything. I just think it's harder for me.
I had to turn the most difficult part for me, and I'm not saying that it's easier for other people because maybe they didn't have to do it like this. I had to turn the laziness dial down. That was the thing.
Fair.
And it's like, of course, that's the opposite of discipline. But it's like when I first, it was curiosity. Curiosity ultimately is what helped me dive into my discipline. And then there was just an ocean of discipline. But I had to swim through the skinny, rough tunnel first to find it. And that was setting up things like only meditating for 5 minutes a day. And that was to cater to my laziness and to my just frustration of impatience. It's like, okay, you don't have to be so impatient, but you can do 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think your discipline is, at least at this point, more developed than mine.
Fair.
And it's like I'm trying to develop mine, but it's like I'm at 5 minutes right now. You know what I'm saying? And it makes it harder, but it's like I also don't want to push myself to do 15 minutes.
Of course.
Now.
Of course. I wouldn't even recommend you do that.
I think it would make me fall off.
Dude, why do you think we started going to the gym the way we did?
Right.
We were just like 15, 20-minute sessions, bro. We're trying to get in and out. It's like we're just establishing that we're going to the gym every day. That's the most important part.
It's like I'm trying to make these music videos every day with Noah now. I'm like chiseling away at doing things in a disciplined way.
And you love it, so that makes that part easier.
I mean, fair, true. Being disciplined about things that you don't love. I mean, I don't love certain aspects of it. It's like fucking hot out and the sun's in my eye and shit. Like,
and you need 5 more takes.
Yeah, it's like
you've already been out for an hour and a half.
It's tough, but it's like when we come home and he fucking edits the video and I'm watching it after, I fucking love it.
Right, it's worth it.
Yeah.
And that's a good example. It's like, I was going to say, that's what made me start meditating, because I was like, okay, how could I be sharpening the axe if I meditated every day? And those were the two things that I was like, okay, well, my focus isn't the greatest, so I could enhance my focus. And then emotional stability just sounds like a perk I would always appreciate. So sure, I'll take that. And then I chose writing because writing is very physical. Writing is like, okay, well, I do know certain words or else I wouldn't be able to write. So I can at least use those words. And how do you learn words? By using other words.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if I start writing, an inevitable interest in language is going to start. And then maybe I'll be more interested in the dictionary. Maybe I'll look further into words and learn all these words where these quotes that I think are impossible to translate. Maybe if I just gave writing 2 years of time, I could understand a book that seems like ancient alien knowledge to me. So writing offered me chiseling my thinking and my literature.
Dude, part of me feels like I was just like out on my ocean, just rowing along, like happy, just perfectly fine with being on an ocean. And then the challenge of being friends with you is
it a challenge?
You challenge me, yeah.
Fair.
It's like reaffirming a lot about what I believed in about myself when I was younger. It's reaffirming the knowledge that I've gained in the ocean that I made, and I was just like, well, I got the ocean, here it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
this is great.
Yeah, and it's like I'm connecting more ideas now because you're like making me look at every bottle of water worth of if you were to bottle the whole ocean, now you can pick which water in the ocean that you're holding. But right now you can't pick ocean 17A. Fucking
is that what you named him?
It's like fucking 257 double B. Fucking different bottles of the ocean, you know.
Right. So wait, it's making you like make connections between the bottles? Is that what you're saying?
Because you're bringing this bottle out, you're like, yo, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, where's that at? Oh, see this right here? And I've got to pull it out. It's like slipping through my fingers. And I'm like, you know? And you're like, what? And I'm like, let's go over here. Hold on. This? Do you get it? And you're like, bro, what are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, hold on. I've got to put this in a bottle. I've got to put this in a bottle. And hold on, come over here too, and I'm going to put this one in a bottle. This, and this. And you're like, oh.
I see. Okay, that's
what
you're talking about.
And then I look back, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, so you already had, it's like, please, I've heard you say this one time, but I would love for you to mention how the definition of vision and visionary changed for you before and after we became friends. At least in relation to you.
Yeah. Dude, I had heard people say, like, having a vision was important for leadership, and having a vision was important for just, like, having a lot of success, and I just didn't get what they meant by having a vision. I just didn't get it. It was not connecting for me. And you were like, bro, you can see literally you can put yourself in a room where you would want to be in your mind. You're like, I can't quote you exactly, but it's like, that's what you're getting across is like, I can see visually, like I have visual.
As physically as you can.
Yeah, like it's almost physical, even though it's purely made up of the electrical impulses in my brain. It's as if it were in front of me.
Right. And that helps with manifesting.
Yes. It's like I can put myself in my mind where I want to be, and that like how do you get from here to where you want to be? And it takes knowing where you want to be to some degree.
You're at the top of the staircase.
Yeah, I can see myself standing on top of a mountain.
Yes.
In the snow and feel the cold, and I'm the fucking fur of my coat. I've got the whole thing there. I know what my coat looks like.
Right.
Like I can see the colors in my mind.
It's very attention to detail.
Yes.
But it's all wrapped in one big vision, which is what makes you a good painter and a good graphic designer.
Fair.
Is that vision, I would say.
peep the designs for the thumbnail. I made the thumbnail, the fucking
he made all that.
profile picture for this podcast.
I love it.
I went to town.
I think the logo. Are we able to pull it up? Or
can we pull that up on screen?
I don't know if you can do it on screen. I was gonna show it on your phone or something. Are you able to pull it up on your phone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you're able to pull it up on your phone, bro.
If maybe you could put an input on OBS that we could put over in the corner.
You probably can.
We could start having all those inputs pre-made and ready in OBS before we start the stream. We can do this with Conscious Cast too, like where if we're like pretty sure we're gonna talk about a certain thing, we can on stream bring a picture of it up.
Yes, we can ask ChatGPT how to do that.
I think you just put like how on OBS there's all the inputs. Like the camera feed is an input. You could probably just set an image as an input that you could put in how we have
corner.
When we're streaming, we're just like putting our faces, like us sitting on the couch, the camera on us. We're just putting that down in the corner on top of. It's a layer on top of the video. We could do the same thing with just a picture of anything.
Yeah, if we had the Matter of Fact logo, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, if we could just pull that up right now, that would be sick.
Matter of Fact logo is sick. The background is lit. The color scheme is lit. We're taking this shit serious.
It's on YouTube.
Seriously. Taking it real seriously. How did they evolve into adulthood? Was there a point I was trying to? Oh yes. Let me bridge this gap real quick. So when I was 20, I started doing all these things daily, like writing.
Matter of Fact podcast.
And
Matter of Facts podcast.
Look up Hartzell David after, it might pop up. If you can't find it, that's fine. We can show it another time. But
I will find it.
Fair enough.
Because it exists.
When I was 20, I got a girl, like I said, and I decided to stick with philosophy and psychology. Are you showing it to him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll just keep talking. You can show them anyway. Okay. Stick with writing daily. Stick with meditating daily. I thought that these would help refine and develop my character and my abilities. There's the logo.
Hold on, I'm waiting to see what it looks like.
I know, it's taking forever. Oh, that looks fine. Fine.
Yeah, we've got...
It looks quite well.
Matter of Fact there. There's a lot of nice details in the background and such.
We got Matter of Fact. Seth made all that. He's a baller. But...
Dope.
But yeah, I started making music about 6 months later. I don't do that as daily, but to be fair, the amount of time and effort that I've put into making music is at least acceptable to me. I am proud. I know how bad that word is to you Christians, but I'm taking shots at both sides. I'm very proud of the effort and intelligence and things, just obstacles I've had to go through with making music, writing, meditating, fitness, intelligence, all kinds of things. And now I'm 24. It's been 4 years since I decided to do these things daily. And now I'm doing different things daily. And I'm sticking with a very great routine. And honestly, this will snowball perfectly into the next question. Because I'm going through a pretty pivotal moment in my life, I would say. With recently, losing my hair. And...
Takes off hat.
Yeah, I'll take off the hat for the rest of the episode. But
I didn't wear mine.
You didn't. Oh yeah, true, you didn't. But yeah, a lot of identity is changing. I have better guns than I used to have.
How many guns do you own?
2.
Can I see them?
Yeah, you want to see them? Nice. But yeah, just a lot of identity things. I recently did. Yeah, I'm gonna ask this. What's something you've recently changed your mind about? I want to answer this real quick. I think waking up in the morning is better for me. That's not to say that I never thought that in the past, but I wasn't living it. I wasn't making sure that happened. I didn't think it was as important to my routine and all the things that I'm trying to get done on a daily basis. Also, the importance of social media and content creation. I've changed my mind about a lot of things around that. This is a great example of it. I was terrified to do one podcast, and keeping up with it seemed like it might have been too high a task in some aspects, but now we have a second one. And just getting everything ready for it, making reels for both, making sure they're funny and entertaining. A lot of stress and anxiety around that I thought might have been too high of a bar for me. Even with my discipline, I thought it would be too overwhelming of a task, especially with it involving me having to put myself out there to make it happen. Which is another thing I've changed my mind about, at least in my actions. As in, I'm more willing to. This is a double-edged sword, because I'm more willing to get in front of a camera and say what I believe, but I'm more willing to talk shit and cast stones and just explain. This is going to be tricky wording. I want to say explain why I think some things are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
As dangerous of territory that is to say something like that.
You want to combat ideas.
I do. I want to be like...
You're not trying to throw stones at people and
right.
personally, but you do want to combat their ideas.
And it gets tough because people live out their ideas. So now I'm attacking their lifestyle, which is in turn attacking their person. And it's like...
I love the thought of saying... Because a lot of people talk about their ideas because they're supporting their lifestyle.
Right.
And so they'll combat other people's ideas in defense of their ideas, in defense of their lifestyle.
Right. It's
and
biased.
So you're developing your lifestyle based on your ideas, based on what you believe. You're willing to admit you're wrong, but you're also willing to defend your ideas against others' ideas. And at the end of all of this, it's never to cast stones personally and say, you should live your life different. You're more just defending. This is why I live my life the way I'm living my life.
Right.
I believe in health, for example.
Mm-hmm. But then that would mean, by me making a statement like that, if someone is obese and continuing in their behavior that made them obese, I am, without saying, against their lifestyle. At least in my wording, and at least in what I'm trying to get across.
You are, at the very least, against yourself living that lifestyle.
Right.
And
if somebody came up to me and asked me for advice, how should I change my life, and they were obese, I would be like, you should get fit.
And if someone's asking you for advice, then they're asking for it.
Right.
But you should say it.
Right. But someone, and this is going to happen regardless, but it's still a point to make. Someone could watch this, hear me say the things about health, label me as fat phobic, and express to the world how I'm just not open, and I'm closed-minded, and I'm a bigot, and I'm just not letting people live their life the way they want to live.
So what would you say to that? It's like...
I would say I think that if you're being honest with yourself, you don't want to be obese.
I would say that if you're not asking for my advice, then enjoy the podcast and don't take any of this for shit. But if you are looking for advice...
Right.
So it just depends on who we're talking to.
Definitely.
If you are someone who is looking for my advice, I'm going to tell you that I think you would be happier if you did a lot of the things. It's not even about not being fat. It's like...
I think it is in
to some degree, but by doing the things that would naturally lead to you losing weight, those things are what you're going to love, and those things are going to make you happier. So if you did everything it took to lose weight, you'd be happier because the things it takes to lose weight make you happier.
Yeah, it's literally in your biology is requesting a standard or a bar from you to fulfill. And if you don't fulfill it, your quality of life could dampen because of that.
You're unfulfilled.
Yeah, you're literally not hitting the bar of what it takes to be the most confident and capable and just comfortable in your own skin.
When I go cook a burger, I'm not saying that beef itself, ground beef, is the pinnacle of healthy meats or healthy food. Definitely. But I also put a lot of things on it that are healthy, like avocado and it's spinach and etc. But it's like when I go into the kitchen and I spend time preparing my own food, there's more of a fulfillment behind eating, and I'm a happier person because the discipline of going into the kitchen and spending the time to cook the food and then clean the kitchen and then clean the dishes and all of it makes me happier. And so not only am I going to have a healthier body, I'm also doing something very disciplined and it's making my life more enriched and happier.
It's kind of a paradox too, because people want to let go of mundanity and drudgery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to leave it at drudgery. mundanity and drudgery. But it's a lot of time that through these, such as fixing your own food and cleaning your house and organizing, that might take a lot of time, and you might see it as a waste of time because anything that you organize is just going to get disorganized again.
They think it's boring. I don't think it's boring.
A lot of people do think it's boring, and it was through a lot of discipline that I got over the fact that I thought it was so boring.
Yeah, I used to think it was boring.
Yeah, so
I must admit.
I can't disagree too much with them. But
it's not boring because it's almost like I get to meditate.
yeah, it's meditative, very meditative.
And like, cooking is not boring because it's like managing a lot of things at once.
I agree.
Reminds me of working at Domino's.
A lot of multitasking. But it is a paradox sometimes. Going through mundanity and drudgery, can be, as an oxymoron, fulfilling. Very fulfilling and not boring and exciting even. It can give you a sense of balance in your life, and it can get the wheel spinning in your head about the kind of life that you want to live. Because you're going to have to face drudgery and mundanity at times, whether you like it or not. There are things that you're going to have to face that aren't always going to be the most motivating or exciting. Well, that's just one point. Matter of fact.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like you understand a lot about living a fulfilling life.
At least for me.
And yeah, you're mainly trying to fulfill yourself. And I think you understand that there are people who are searching for answers. And that's who your focus is on.
Yes.
Is giving the answers to the people that are searching for them. And we're going to get heat because people are taking it. People who aren't looking for answers or who do not want us to try to give them answers are going to take it like we're trying to shove the answers down their throat. And that's not our goal. We're not shoving anything at you. If you hear anything we say and you're like, if you disagree with it, honestly, I encourage disagreement.
Yeah, please let me hear it.
I promote disagreement. You can disagree with me openly and tell me about it, or you can just say, I don't agree with Seth, I don't agree with David, and I'm going to live my life the way I want to, and that's fine. And it's like, I'm not shoving anything at you.
Yeah.
But if you do want some kind of answer, if you want some kind of advice, that's our biggest goal, is to give that to people, because I think we do have answers that could be useful to people.
I will also debate you.
Yes.
Like, I want your ideas to stand tall. I want to hear why you're living your life the way you're living it, and I will explain to you why I'm living the way that I'm living mine. And we can duke it out if that's what it has to be, or we can just have a civil discussion on why we disagree. That's fine. Either one, I am interested.
Yeah, it's like we will be as competitive about this as anyone else is willing to be with us.
Right. It's like, I would say I would be willing to compete in the realm of living a fulfilling life. I bet I'm in the top 20th percentile.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'll go even I think a lot of people combat this idea, but I think it'll go even higher when I have all the money that I want.
I think you're in the top 20th percentile of path. Like,
yeah.
The path you're on is in the top 20th percentile of what will reach
ultimate fulfillment.
Yeah.
As close to it as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And dedication and progress and capability. A lot of things that are important to me. Those things don't have to be important to you for you to live the same way, or at least your own definition of what fulfills you. If you like writing or painting or building houses, like, do that. You should find a way to do that. And if it's not in the cards right now, you should form goals that help you get closer to that vision, as we were talking, of your life that you want to live, the most fulfilled version of that life. And
there are things you will have to learn to do if you want to build a house, you have to know math.
Right.
You have to understand gravity and physics. You have to understand a lot of things. So you're going to have to learn. And so we talk about this ocean that we have and this cabinet of bottles, and it's like, if you want to be able to build a house, you have to first build a cabinet of bottles. And so learning is incredibly important. So we're standing on learning as a priority in our life, and if you feel like we're telling you to learn and you don't want to have to learn, then no other advice we have for you even matters. If you want to build houses, we're telling you that you should build houses. But if you want to actually go through with that, we're also telling you you have to learn something.
Facts.
So do whatever you want to do, but I'm telling you, if you really want to do whatever you want to do, you have to learn.
Yes, and that it's the importance of honesty. Here's another thing. I think if you're being honest with yourself, I think most people, the things that fulfill them require effort.
Mm-hmm.
So if you choose laziness over effort, you're essentially choosing unfulfillment over fulfillment. And I think you're living a lie if you do that. I think you would rather live fulfilled. And I think the only way that you can do that is if you're willing to put in effort and form goals and conceptualize what it is that you want out of life. So there is almost an obligation, a due diligence on your person. Your person has something in him that he or she wants to express to the world. There is a version of them that will make them feel more complete or whole. And it should be in your ambition for the sake of your own person to make that happen. You owe it to yourself. And that's
Whole.
Being very whole. And this is where it gets tricky too, because this is a dumb argument.
Is that Carl Jung?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Individuation.
Mm-hmm.
This is a dumb argument because I don't believe in it. I think this is ridiculous. But if the only thing that's going to make you feel fulfilled is killing people, it's like,
number one, I don't agree with that.
yeah, it's like, this is where people like to twist the argument. It's like, well, being fulfilled is subjective. What if they think being fulfilled for them is chucking babies off fucking balconies?
It's a deflection.
Yes, it's a straw man.
Are you saying you want to chuck babies? And
like,
if you're
no,
okay, well then I'm not talking to them.
Right, you figure out what you want to do.
Is there you're trying to come up with a reason why I shouldn't be telling you this?
Right.
And it's like, don't deflect.
Right.
Why is what I'm saying to you true? And if somebody wants to chuck babies off of balconies, no, I'm not agreeing with that.
Right. I don't care how fulfilled it makes you.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my tangent. So this question's for you now. What is something that you've recently changed your mind about? As big of a thing and as relevant of a thing. As much as you can keep those together.
I am at least leaning more toward the idea of duty or obligation. And I think we can talk a lot about whether or not how useful it is to apply obligation and duty, but I think there is a truth to duty and obligation that I was not understanding, or I was willing to admit in the past, because I believe a lot in freedom and in autonomy. I believe that we should be free on our own to act in the way we want to act and to live out our life the way we choose to live out our life. And that there shouldn't be anyone really telling us, you have to do this other thing that you don't want to do for me. No one else should be telling me, you have to do this thing because of how it will help me. And I butt up against the idea of that. And so it's illogical in my mind. It doesn't add up. That simply because I was born and I could do this thing that may help others, that I am now required to. Like, it's an obligation, a moral dictate. And I think that is true. I think that's one side of the coin.
Fair.
Because the other side of the truth of it is that I want to do things that help others. So even though no one should be telling it to me and forcing it on me, it is still there. I am by nature obligated and dutiful.
What's the biggest thing that made you change your mind on that? Like what?
I mean, recently we had a conversation about it.
You talking about yesterday?
Yeah.
I feel like you've already. Did you not decide before that conversation though?
No, I hadn't thought about it as much. I had not come to that conclusion. I think maybe a lot of what's like coming out of us is helping feed into that, because it's like we're doing a lot recently. We're making a lot of strides in a lot of things, and it's requiring me to take part in a lot of things. And you've also talked to me recently about I'm just kind of going along with what you guys say a lot of times. Like, I don't have a lot of complaints. I'm not like, nah, I'm not going to go do that. I'm like, okay, we're doing a podcast. We're going to go on Tuesday. I'm going Tuesday. I don't have any complaints. Like, I'm just going to do it. And that's me. A lot of it is me giving into obligation. Whether I believe in it or not, I feel it.
Does it feel important?
Yes, absolutely. And like, I don't want to leave my friends feeling like I can't be relied on. Like, my obligations will not go fulfilled. So while I don't want it to be that my friends are forcing certain life choices on me, like, if I don't do this, then I'm bad and they have a right to be mad at me. At most, they have a right to not be my friend anymore and to just move on along without me because I'm not fitting into their life, and that is their choice. But I don't think it's like, it doesn't mean that I should hate myself if I'm not willing to go along with what they're saying and it's not really what I want to do. So more of it is that I am finding where I am obligating myself to do things because I know it's also what I want to do. And I know I also want the same result these friends of mine want. And that if I am joining in with them and I fulfill my duty, it will help them, but it also is good for me. And that going along with obligations and not rejecting obligation as a concept can be more fulfilling. Because if you go along with all the obligations, everything that anyone would want you to be obligated to do, you could end up being less fulfilled. You're fulfilling other people's.
That was what I went through.
And it's like, that's also wrong. So it's almost a paradox. It's just two sides of a coin in a way, where obligation is wrong but also right.
I hear that.
So
what else have you changed your mind about recently?
That was the thing I was thinking about to answer that question. So,
like since moving back to Richmond.
I mean, I changed my mind about how soon I want to move to Nashville.
Right.
And I've changed my mind a lot about, like, in a way, the way I want to live my life. Because I was like partying a lot in Columbus, and that's not necessarily the exact lifestyle I want to live.
Staying up late.
Although it would be included in that. Yeah, staying up late. Like, a lot of the way I want to live, I've come to some more concrete. Like, even in Columbus, I was saying, like, I want to go to bed earlier and wake up earlier and be awake during the day when the sun is out, etc. And I still agree with that. And it's like, I'm inching up on the discipline of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm drinking a little bit less coffee. I never drank a lot of coffee, but I'm drinking just a little bit less than I was. I'm giving myself days where I'm not smoking weed. I'm trying to
staying very busy outside of just a job. Very self jobs. Jobs that we impose on ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I think I was in a battle with feeling obligated through my friends rather than through my own self-obligation. And I was able to articulate that to you guys and be like, I'm not doing this because you guys. I'm doing this because it's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And it's very motivating for me to be more in that state of mind.
I get that. It helps me at times too to, I don't know, obligation is almost like a system that I work with. It's like writing. Of course, I wanted to start writing, but there was like an obligation that I placed on myself. The gym, it's an obligation that I'm placing on myself.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think you'll agree with this statement, but this statement is like a mantra for me. It's I owe it to myself. I owe myself something is how I see it.
Well, and then we also talked about like, okay, if you're the biggest, strongest, most capable person in your family and you live on a farm and there's a bale of hay to pick up and no one else is really big enough to pick it up, your family needs you to pick that up.
It's a dilemma.
Yeah.
It's a crazy dilemma.
Yeah.
Because I would if I was like his brother, I would empathize.
My vision puts me in that scenario with my family angry at me if I don't pick it up.
You don't imagine anybody empathetic?
You know what? I can't imagine that scenario where if I am putting the duty on myself and doing it every day,
and everybody can see that you don't want to.
People are going to. People will react differently. Not everyone will react exactly the same. Some people might take advantage of it. I've had that happen to me a lot, where I've been taken advantage of, and because I was willing to pick up the bale of hay, I've had fingers pointed at me as to why I'm not picking up more bales of hay.
Right, I get that.
And pushing me to do more and more and more so they could do less.
I hear that. That's very real.
So I would hope that the reaction would be that those people, everything they could do that even maybe I'm not as good at, that they would do those things so I wouldn't have to. We all have gifts, and we're all fortunate in some way. And the more we lean into where we're fortunate and where we are gifted, the more we uplift the side of other people's lives where they aren't. So if I'm picking up the bale of hay, I'm uplifting the side of a lot of other people's lives where they are not able to do that, but they might cook.
Right.
Or they might,
fucking shave the
fucking
sheep.
Yeah.
For the clothing.
The kids will put on a play for me while I eat my dinner.
Right.
Because I'm the guy that picked up the hay for them. Like,
right. There is a benefit to reap.
Yes.
Hopefully. Unless you're just in tyranny.
Yeah.
Being oppressed.
And so it's like, I think people should take advantage of others less and focus more on how am I obligated toward them, and then someone's got to do it first. I think we're in a state in society where people are more willing to take advantage of others and less willing to pick up their bale of hay.
I want to get your opinion on this because this is interesting. The more that I deep dive into my discipline and things that I'm capable of, and the more that I realize that I am capable of learning a lot, there's not only like an owing it to myself, there's also, as fucking self-righteous or egotistical of a statement it is, it's still there, is I owe it to society. The fact that someone can do diligence and learn it, and they can be around that person, they benefit everyone they're around. Because, like, okay, that's illegal. Like, that person is valuable to society. Yeah. The person that is at least aware of what's going on. Because they did the due diligence, and they put their intellect to the test and gathered a bunch of information to help teach everybody. Like, the teachers of society. Yeah. It's like an obligation to society as a teacher. Since someone is able to get the knowledge and they've went out and gathered it and they were lucky, as you said, enough to be possessed with that intelligence, they owe it in some kind of sense to themselves and to the people around them. Right.
I definitely, and that's, like I said, that's where I've changed my mind a lot, is I do see the ones, I already saw the one side of it where it's like, if he's getting nothing out of it because no one else is holding up their end.
Right, I get that.
But then I see the side of it where it's like, the more people decide to hold up their end, even if no one else is, the more people who are holding up their end. And if we all stop holding up our end because no one else is holding up their end, then no one's holding up their end.
Right.
And you're just becoming part of the problem of no one's holding up their end. No one is helping uplift everyone around them. They're all focusing on no one else is holding up their end, so I'm not gonna.
Right.
And they're focusing on themselves and what they're gonna want, and to take whatever they can from others and not give as much to others. So I think it's more important to focus on how you can be a part of the solution and how you can hold up your end more. Because
Is it like giving back? Or is it just giving in general?
if everyone holds up their end, we're in utopia.
Equilibrium.
It's like the world's perfect. It's never going to be that. We can't expect it to be utopia, but it will never even get to the fucking 80th percentile of utopia if we don't all start thinking about our end and what we need to do to help. Because it takes all of us.
And what gifts you have, what gifts you can provide. It's like when people use their intelligence to adopt a snarky persona.
Yeah.
They use it as a sword. They're like, okay, dope, I'm smart. This is great. I'm better than everybody now. I can explain to them why they're stupid, not just call them stupid. It's like, bro.
Yeah.
That should not be what you want to be intelligent. That's not to say, and it's like the ego's scary. We're going to have a whole episode about ego.
Yes.
I do want to quit this soon because I got to piss and I want to take a shower.
What's something you've recently changed your mind about is an ego question.
Very ego.
Because your ego wants to believe it was never wrong about anything to begin with. So if you're changing your mind, you're admitting you were wrong, and you have to challenge your ego for that.
Yeah, your ego literally has to be tested to be able to see the question. So yeah, what I'm getting at with the fear of ego here is the more that I do increase my intelligence, the more I do recognize that it is a dagger.
Mm-hmm.
It is like I can feel better than I'm up here.
It's also a shield.
There's a shield as well.
It's
There's
armor.
I know the risks involved. But yeah, if I'm being incredibly honest with myself and I'm looking at, the unconscious bedrock to where I'm standing, of course there is I can help society. I'm learning these things to better improve my life and explain to people how they can be more fulfilled. But then there's another side of it where it's like, finally they can't just tell me what's right.
Yeah.
I can be like, no,
Yeah.
I've also learned absolutely
Right.
not. You're wrong. I get that part of me is excited.
Yeah.
That part of me is like, dope. I cannot
Yeah.
wait to be smart enough to tell people they're dumb. I haven't crossed that line yet. Though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't just called someone stupid or dumb straight up.
It's like to take dumb and put it into an actually useful terminology. It's like when you're saying someone's dumb, what you're really wanting to do is encourage them to do more due diligence. It's like, I know you could know better than this because I once didn't know and I now know because I did my due diligence. And so it's like when you can tell someone hasn't done a lot of due diligence on something and they're just making statements that conflict with what has been determined to be very likely untrue.
You can just say it's wrong. You don't have to say it's wrong, dummy. You don't have to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
no, stupid. You can just, it's
And
wrong.
what you can say
You're
is,
wrong.
it's like, I don't think you've done enough due diligence on this.
Yeah.
I think if you look more into this, you're going to find answers that tell you that what you're saying has been found untrue and a misconception.
Right.
And it's not bad that you believed it because a lot of people used to believe the earth was flat.
Right.
There was a lot of evidence for why the earth was flat until they started using divine geometry to determine the shape of earth.
Right.
And we can mathematically calculate the shape of earth. And if we do our due diligence, that means you would have to measure the earth yourself.
Empirical as it gets.
You could use the formulas to measure the earth yourself and find that it is round. And I'm not saying I've ever done that myself, but it's something I know that I could try.
Fair.
So at the very least, I can't say I know for a fact it's round until I test it myself, but I know the test exists.
What about the curvature from a certain altitude?
That's one of the tests.
That's a great test because I was literally in a plane and I saw the curvature and I was like, okay, there's what now?
Right.
Where's your?
I say it's an optical illusion. The plane windows are curved. I don't know. It's like fucking.
Okay, that's a good argument.
Sure.
Now, see, that's I'm not calling them stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm being very sarcastic.
Yeah.
I'm being like, oh yeah, let's give them that one. That's a good one. Very.
That sounds
snarky.
That sounds like biased skepticism. It sounds like you're looking for
a reason to disqualify them, discredit them.
They're saying the windows are curved. That's just they didn't measure that.
Right.
They don't know what the curvature of the plane windows. They're unwilling to measure it.
Right.
They're unwilling to actually
it's not
do the math.
Empirical. It's theoretical.
And I think maybe that's because they're afraid they don't understand the math. And they'd be more willing to say that the math isn't true than to learn math and understand how math is. Math has proof. Proof is a mathematical term. The transitive property is a proof in math that.
What is it? Just 2 + 2 always equals 4? Is that an example?
That would be supported by transitive property.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C.
Okay. Yes.
And every time we test that, it works.
It's like inferring.
Yes.
And forming conclusions.
We have there's like the law of the universal law of multiplication or something like that, where we know for a fact that no matter how many times you add times a number, times a number, times a number, it doesn't matter what order you put them in or anything like that.
Yes, I actually just watched a video about this.
Yes, it will always equal the same number at the end.
Yes, it was like 1 times 2 times 3 all the way up to 9, and then it was 9 times 8 times 7 all the way to 1. And they did a test, and if you showed the same equation, these equations, you would get different outcomes. And the number that started off bigger, people would assume it was a bigger number. Mm-hmm. And then I remember, because I'm just so smart, I seen it, and I was like, oh, they're the same. And it was the same. And I was like, oh, okay, crazy.
So it's like, it's a common misconception. People are even just looking at it and biasly thinking it's going to be bigger.
Right. They're inferring from the beginning.
And they're like, but the window's curved.
Right.
It should be bigger.
Yes.
No, if you do the measurement, it's the
exact same.
It is the same. And so we have mathematical proof of if we measure the planet and it follows all because of multiplication having a law, that means division also has a law. Because division is just the opposite. It's the opposite. If you divide by 1 instead of multiplying by 1, it gets you the opposite result. 50 divided by 2 is 25. 25 times 2 is 50. So if 25 times 2 times 3 is always going to equal the same thing, no matter what order you put those numbers in, then the same thing goes for division.
And starting with the bigger number.
Right.
Fair.
So, like, what if you divide 2 by 3?
Decimal.
It's now 2/3. And then you divide 25 by 2/3. That's actually a bigger number.
Yes, that's interesting.
So that's how division works itself out to be.
Wait, what did you say? What was the equation?
25 times 2. Oh, yeah, times 2/3, it would be.
A smaller number? Because it's multiplying by 0.66.
It's 25 over 1 times. It's 25 over 1 divided by 2 over 3.
Oh, divided. Yes, I thought you said times.
I did say times that first time. 25 over 1 divided by 2 over 3 equals...
a bigger number?
25 times 2, 50. Divided by 3 times 1, which is 3. So 25 divided by 3. So if you...
I'm not actually sure.
I'm doing this wrong. So sure. If it's 25 over 1, we're going to write this down.
Sure.
Book. This is fucking divine math right here, okay? 25 divided by 1 equals 25. Just to be clear, if you divide 25 by 1, 1 goes into 25 times. Mm-hmm. So 1 times 25 equals 25. 25 divided by 1 equals 25.
So couldn't it just be 25 then? Why does it have to be a fraction?
This is a method of doing math. So because we are dividing it by a fraction.
Oh, I see. Okay, yes.
We want the 1 there. Mathematically, it's equal, so it gives us the opportunity to divide correctly. Now, if we divide 25 by 2, we get 12.5. And if we divide 1 by 3, we get
.33.
3.
3 repeating. So 12
So now
and a
we
half
have
over 0.3.
Now we have 12.
12.5 over 0.3
0.5
repeating.
over 1 divided by 1 over
0.3.
0.3 is 1 over 3 divided by 1/3. So this equation is equal to this equation.
Right.
All the numbers are halved. So we're reducing this. So now 12.5 divided by 1 is 12.5. Well. That's just going to equal the same thing. So
I need to look into math.
I remember now.
What is it?
So now that we've got it reduced to this is 12.5 divided by 0.3 is the same as 12.5 times 3. So now 12.5 times 3 is
37 and a half, I believe.
And an easier way to even think about this is 25.
So 2/3 of 25 plus 25. Isn't
right? This right here turns 25 into
37
increments of 3.
Yes. Oh, and then it's showing you what a third. No, that's a half. That's a 2. Never mind.
So it's basically making 12.5 1/3 of the answer now. The answer is half of 25 times 3. Half of 25 times 3.
Yeah, that is half of 25 times 3.
So it divides it by 2, but then multiplies it by 3. So whenever you do a fraction, you are essentially multiplying.
That's interesting. So literally all you're doing is 2/3 of 25 plus itself. Right?
Half of 25 plus itself.
Well, what's 2/3 of 25? Are you able to do that in a calculator? Wouldn't it be...
Well, we could do...
No, never mind. Nope.
25.
That's wrong.
If we did 25 times, we would get 50.
50 over 3?
Over 3. If you divide 50 by 3, it's like...
17. No, that'd be 51. So it'd be 16 point something.
Yeah. 16 point...
Because it'd be 48, so it'd be... You'd have to get
16
2 more.
2/3. 16.66.
16.66. 666.
So this is
Didn't even mean to.
16.66. And I'm not a teacher here, so I'm not organized by this, but 16.66 is 2/3.
Matter of fact, turn to a math lesson.
2/3 of 25, so what's 1/3 of 25? It's 8.33.
How the hell did we get to math?
So if you want to find out, we got to math because you can prove truth with math.
How did we get to that?
Flat Earth.
How did we get to flat Earth? Didn't it start with this?
We have ways of measuring the truth. And yeah, we'd have to watch it back.
Yeah, I guess so.
Math has proof. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Well, I think it's because... No, actually, no. I was going to say it's because I think we were talking about ego, but no, I don't think so. Could be. All right. I don't know about you. I'm ready to get off here. I want to shower.
You're going to get off?
Yep.
I'm clipping you saying that.
I'll do it on the board for everybody to not see because it's already white.
Oh, damn. It'd
Color
be
it
like
in with
erasing
black.
it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Then I could just hold it up to the,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Matter of fact.
Yes,
for sure. Yes.
But yeah. Thanks for tuning in. How we live our lives.
Check us out next time.
Next week.
To make a statement about it, it's going to be like 8 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah, 8 or 9 in the morning every Sunday.
On Sunday. So next week, what are we talking about?
We have the topic truth.
Mm-hmm.
However, ego sounds more fun.
I'd like to do ego. So if you guys want to
hear us talk about ego.
Hear us talk about ego. Join us next Sunday. Look out for the notification. We will be unlocking the secrets of the universe.
Oh, wait, you got to pull it up on OBS.
Yeah, I sure enough do. And you guys are going to get a couple more seconds of us.
As a matter of fact.
But have a good week.